Hello, contractors, and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Jackie Abel, and today I'm speaking with Kelly Mesaris, the VP of Special Operations at LB Capital. Kelly is passionate about creating opportunities for people in the trades. Today, she shares tips for contractors looking to partner with private equity and discusses how PE has set its sights on the roofing industry. I hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I did. Kelly Mesaris, you are the VP of Special Operations at LB Capital in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Today, you and I are going to be talking about how to build it to sell it, why roofing has become such a hot topic for private equity. I am so excited to chat with you today. Welcome to Toolbox for the Trades.
Thank you, Jackie.
So I have had your boss, Lance, on the show, and I'm sure everyone remembers that episode because Lance is quite a character. So we're going to be kind of continuing that conversation, so to speak. But to kick us off, I want to learn a little bit about you. You've really had quite the career in the trades, especially since you joined Lance's group here. I want to know, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Go for it, make mistakes, and make those quickly, right? Because then you're going to have more things that actually stick and work versus overthinking, overcomplicating, and not making any decision at all. So just thinking fast, making decisions fast, and some of them are going to be failures, but at least you made them. And then the ones that weren't failures actually stuck and helped you, grow. So that's
actually something I remember Lance telling me, or like he's saying it in a webinar or something. It's like, act quickly, make decisions fast. And that really resonated with me because I'm certainly someone who can just hem and haw and like kind of like sit on her hands, so to speak, and just like, I don't know, is that the best decision? So I really respect that. So I already alluded to it a bit. You've got an interesting tale for how you became VP of Special Ops at LB Capital. So I want to know, how did you get into the trades and later find yourself in this role?
Sure. So a partner and I started an HVAC company from scratch in 2013. And then we exited the partnership in 2023. At that time, it had been 10 years and we grew. We were budgeted to $5 million that year when I left mid-year. And grew to 18 vans, great team, a team of 30 people. And then when it was time to lead the partnership, I was friends with Tom Howard, told him that I was looking for a different opportunity, new venture. And he said, actually, I'm flying out in 2 days to see my good friend, Lance Bachman. He's looking for a GM for his HVAC company, Dilling, in Bristol, PA. Why don't you meet me there? Maryland was only 2 hours away. So I drove down, met Lance. And Lance is a very on-the-spot decision-making because I had a couple other discussions later in that week with other people. And he's like, I need a yes or no answer today. And I was like, oh. And I was like, well, I'll give you a yes. And then maybe afterwards, something I'll like it. After, the following week came up, then I would deal with it then, right? I'm the person that just jumps in and says yes. So I said, okay, yes, I'll give you the yes answer today, and started the next week and turned down the other opportunities. And I was the GM there for about close to a year, and then he ended up selling it. And then he pulled me over to all the operations of LB Capital, which oversees 7 roofing companies. So
awesome. So for 10 years, you ran your own HVAC company.
Correct.
Met up with Lance. He put you in the GM. He put you in the GM seat for an HVAC company that he was priming to sell. It got sold, and so now you're working with him to oversee all these roofing brands.
Correct. Dilling there's the second Dilling that we had sold. The original one was in North Carolina. So this was the PA one. He exited that, and then I came over to operations for his new ventures, which was exclusively roofing.
Nice. Was that a franchise name, or were there there was just multiple locations?
Yeah. So once the Dilling in North Carolina sold, it had a good name. We knew the structure, right? And so we brought it to PA and grew it here and then exit it.
Awesome. I must have forgotten this when we did our pre-interview, that you also were in the owner operator seat for 10 years on your own. You said you grew it to 18 vans. That's incredible work. I mean, looking back on those 10 years, it's impossible, I'm sure, to distill this into one answer, but like looking back at those 10 years, what was like the biggest thing that you learned running and operating your own brand?
I learned so much from every aspect too. We were one of the first year or two ServiceTitan users. We went from house car repair for 1 year and went right to ServiceTitan. So that whole journey, I was with ServiceTitan, which was great to grow and learn with ServiceTitan as they grew and added more features. And we maximized everything. So Marketing Pro, Phones Pro that they had then. And just learning marketing, I constantly engulfed myself in events and classes and things like that. So learning the P&Ls and learning how to price right and how to structure your price book and everything like that, that ServiceTitan, the CRM forced you to learn, right, to make sure that it was set up right over those 10 years. And then people, it's all about the people. And I really didn't get into the understanding of private equity until I came over to LB Capital, which we can review later in the podcast. So that was great because I focused more on operations there, like the people and learning each department. And then when I came on here, it was a lot more focused on, okay, you have everything in place. Now this is what PE is looking for to sell. And it was a much different vision from growing a brand in a long-term game, right? That was a long-term game of building a name and for many years versus coming on here at LB Capital. And it's a very short-term plan, right? To grow it, scale it, and exit to private equity in a very short period of time.
Awesome. Really, really cool. I give you so much kudos for doing that. That is awesome. And I have to say, you talking about how you've grown along with ServiceTitan, you were also on our other podcast, Mastering ServiceTitan, with Josh Liu, talking about all of your expertise on ServiceTitan. And we'll link that episode in the show notes for anyone who's interested in your technical know-how. But we're gonna kind of go on the 10,000-foot view here for this show. So actually, I didn't know this. This was a little embarrassing for me. I did not know exactly how LB Capital worked. And so before we get any further, I want to talk about LB Capital. And if you could elaborate on the business model and how it works for roofing companies looking to scale and grow. So assuming that no one has ever heard of it before, or Lance Bachman before, which if you're in this world, I don't know how you've managed to avoid him, but I would love to hear the breakdown from your perspective.
Yeah, and it's a lot of confusion, right? So LB Capital, people are like, oh, it's a capital firm because it has the name. And it's not at all. So what the LB Capital model is that we find the right partners, right? So we vet the partners. Are they a good person, a good family person, make all the right decisions in life personally, because that rolls over into your business life, right? If your personal life's a mess, the business isn't going to be great. So we vet the partners, and usually these partners are doing anywhere from 1.5 to 3 million in their current roofing business or whatever business it may be. But right now our focus is roofing. And once we vet them, we partner with them. So we do not give them any money. Like LB Capital doesn't fund them or anything like that. It's not a capital group in that sense. Lance takes over half ownership of the company. The partner keeps the other half. And with our SOPs, our leadership team, like myself, our CEO, Bill Rizal, our CFO, Julian Bachman, and our HR department, again, all of our trainers here, we have all the leadership teams in place. We have all the structures and SOPs in place also. What your P&L needs to look like. We know we have down to a T because we work with so many private equity companies with the multiple exits that Lance has had, what they're looking for, what they want, and what it takes to grow and scale. And our longest company we've ever kept is like 16 months. So we infuse that with our leadership team, our SOPs, our operations into these companies doing 1.5 million. We bring on their salespeople, retrain them for our way that we know it works, utilize all of our services. So Hatch, Angie, networks, all the lead aggregators, again, every process across the board, grow them and scale them. And it works. The model works, right? And then we sell them to private equity, usually within 16 months.
Wow. So LB Capital essentially has this formula for how to grow a successful business, how to prepare for an exit. So you guys essentially partner with these brands that have that as the end goal in mind. You get them there.
Yep. And within 16 months, and they become millionaires.
I mean,
In 16 months,
it sounds almost too good to be true, quite frankly. So I would
well,
love
it's
to
not
talk.
easy. It's hard work, right? Like they have to put in the work. There's the sales leader. They become the sales leader of the organization in conjunction with us. So like they're the feet on the ground because these roofing companies are in multiple states. So they're the lead sales leader in the organization, but that means that they're out doing ride-alongs. So they're out, if there needs to be, it's out selling. So it's definitely uneasy. There's a lot of accountability, right? When you bring in a partner and we hold them to the vision and what they want, because we know we're going to make them successful, but they're absolutely going to make that commitment and put the work towards it.
Got it. All right. I want to hear a little bit about the recent sale that you guys made, which was with Mons Roofing and Siding. So you acquired them is that the right word?
Partnered.
Would you say acquired? Partnered in 2023. And it was recently sold to PE. So tell me a bit, if you can get into details, how you and the team accomplished that in such a short period of time. And, just to kind of give the folks listening an idea of what this commitment looks like.
So we partnered with them, and there was two partners, two roll-ups with partners of their small companies, combining about revenue of 1.5 million in 2023. That was mid 2023, like June. And we closed out that year roughly $3 million. So that closed out 2023 at $3 million, and we set a goal for $25 million in 2024. So that was a large goal, and we fell short about $500,000 of that goal. So
Oh,
we were about
wow.
24,500,000 at the close of 2024. And at that point, around October is when we got the LOI to sell Mons to private equity. And we sold that to
LOI.
Alloy Roofing. And they
Mhm.
are building out a whole platform based on the Mons model. So our SOPs, our CSR department. Basically, Mons is their largest, either largest or second largest company. I think it's neck and neck. And they want to build out their whole entire roofing platform as they acquire more roofing companies under the model that we did with Mons.
Oh, so that's very cool. So even the PE companies that are acquiring your partners, they are learning and building on the model that you guys have.
Correct. To build out multiple roofing companies and then roll up to even a larger private equity scale.
Got it. And just for my purposes, LOI, what does that stand for?
Letter of intent. So
Okay.
meaning like we had LOIs probably around October of private equity companies that wanted to acquire Mons.
Okay. Very, very cool. So, I mean, we've been talking about private equity on this podcast. It's kind of, we started this podcast in April 2020, which, is when the
Wow.
pandemic, blew everything up. And all of a sudden, private equity got really interested in the trades. So we've been talking about private equity for a while on this show. I'm curious why private equity is so interested in the roofing industry right now. And what, in your opinion, are some best practices for roofing companies who are looking to partner with PE firms and have that pretty significant exit in a short amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing is private equity and what it was in HVAC plumbing industry 10, 15 years ago. So when private equity first came into the trade space, their main focus was HVAC plumbing. And I think they went after that market and did a really good job of going after that market. And there's so many, they sucked up a lot of the companies, and they realized that it's same across the board, right? Like what makes a great company is the same across the board, no matter what you're selling. It's HVAC, plumbing, electrical, or roofing. So I think they saw that. And now that I always say, like, roofing the last 3 years has been what HVAC was 10 to 15 years. They're really just coming into the roofing space. Even ServiceTitan, like when we first got on, they were just exclusively offering HVAC and plumbing services. Now, within the last year and a half, ServiceTitan moves just as lightning speed as we do here at LB Capital, and with our team, our help of our team, and Lance, he's almost the face of the ServiceTitan roofing aspect because he helped build out the good, better, best options, our production department. ServiceTitan has come in here and sat down with our production team for a week and said, because we're getting roofs put on new homes within 48 hours. So they're like,
Wow.
How are you making this happen? How have you gone 100% paperless? How have you not been able to use any other resource about going around ServiceTitan? Like, everything that we do is in ServiceTitan. So they asked, like, how have you been able to make that happen? And again, we just built it out using an HVAC platform on ServiceTitan, and then built it out to be roofing. And that's also how we came to acquire Titan Pro Technologies, who is a ServiceTitan Titanium. They just got Titanium level partnership with ServiceTitan.
Oh, yeah. They're with the ServiceTitan certified providers.
Correct. So we own, LB Capital also owns Titan Pro Technologies.
Oh, so cool. I didn't know
helpful.
that. Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, STCP, ServiceTitan Certified Providers, those are providers that have gone through a rigorous testing devised by one of our early employees, Danielle Combs. Shout out Danielle. And basically, these are certified providers that say, hey, we know ServiceTitan in and out, and you can hire them to help you optimize your instance of ServiceTitan. So what I heard really in asking, like, what are these best practices for roofing companies looking to partner with PE firms? It's basically follow the workflows that ServiceTitan says you should. Am I right with that?
Having the right CRM. So all the private equity companies that we work with, they don't look at any companies that aren't on a CRM and exclusively not on ServiceTitan, because they don't want, like, if it's not there and it's in someone's head, that it's not sustainable. It's not scalable. So having it all in place, they know the program. They bring on coaches like Titan Pro that can do the same thing across all their tenants. And most of these private equities, that's the way they're going. They're not just buying one roofing company and nurturing it. They're rolling up multiples for the next roll up, the larger roll up. So if you have multiple companies on different CRMs, it becomes a headache. And I even had a meeting with another PE firm last week who was looking to maybe get utilize Titan Pro's technologies services. And I told them the same thing. We have a model tenant. So every time we bring on a new partner, we just plop their information to that model tenant and it's already built out. And so that's where it allows us to be really scalable. We don't have time to waste. We are growing these companies at lightning speed. So we have to have everything built out and ready to go. And it's a plug and play.
Yeah. So having all of these roofing companies on one CRM, in this case, ServiceTitan, enables you to quickly get everyone on the same page. You're quickly able to compare the business's performances to benchmarks that you've collected from the other businesses you've partnered with. And when they do roll up to private equity is able to just plug and play and go in there right away and see how this company is doing and just take the reins.
Yep.
Wow. Well, if we could get a little bit more granular than that, besides, just people just saying, if you're really looking to partner with PE, then you should get on ServiceTitan. What are some of the things that ServiceTitan facilitates that make for a quote unquote good company that PE would be interested in buying, or that LB Capital would be interested in partnering with?
So we're really big into branding. All of our brands are designed and created by Dan and Tinelli, Kick Charge. And with the way the partnership rolls up is that we come in and rebrand them to either be under, like we have the 5 roofing pub organizations, so that name, or we rebrand them to be a name that's going to be well recognized in the area. And with that, now we don't have time to build that name and brand in the neighborhood. So we rely a lot on these companies on lead aggregators. Again, Angie Ads, Angie Leads, Networks, HomeBuddy, Nextdoor, Yelp. And with that, integrating that into ServiceTitan. So all of our lead sources are integrated into ServiceTitan on their bookings tab. Then we go to the Dispatch Pro, like utilizing, when you're speed the lead and you're running lean, because when the private equity is looking at the P&Ls and your EBITDA numbers, right? Like we can't have a lot of overhead. And that's one thing if you're trying to play the long-term game. But we're on a rolling 12 months, that P&L and that EBITDA, if you take into consideration the multipliers, right? So when you're looking at a salary, it's not just the salary. When you're looking at the EBITDA and it affecting your overhead, and you do it times the multiplier, what you're going to get, right? And that's truly what that person or that overhead person is costing you. So we try to stay lean and mean. And again, we need to build these brands fast. So we rely heavily on lead aggregators. The brand hasn't had an opportunity to build out in the area. Dispatch Pro. So again, we don't really have a GM sitting there. We have the owner partner, and half the time they're in ride-alongs or, being sales leaders. So not having a dispatcher on payroll, hitting the overhead P&Ls. Production, we're putting roofs on in 48 hours. So that has to be an efficient process. So as soon as the job is sold, it gets an alert to the production team. Production for all of our companies is housed in here in Bristol. So we don't have production team members at each branch. It's all here in a collaborative effort. And they book the job through the schedule on ServiceTitan, drop ship everything. So we have no materials stored in a warehouse. We drop ship everything to the site, install it. We integrate all of our financing tools in ServiceTitan so that we can click the buttons, complete, and get the financing. We use reporting a lot through ServiceTitan. So everything that we do, there is not like a secondary software we use to, close a gap in ServiceTitan. Every aspect of our company, from the CSR department to the sales department, we have good, better, best built out for our sales team, to the production, to our marketing department that utilizes those reports to make marketing decisions. And, the CSR department, I manage that to make decisions and make sure everyone's reaching their KPIs. Everything that we do is in there. No paper, no one-off systems. It's all there.
Wow.
And that's a clean handover to private equity. Like our last exit, all we had to do is give them access, username, login to the QuickBooks and to ServiceTitan. And all the data information they needed is all there.
Wow. So I just think I caught a little bit more about what your day-to-day involves. You said that in your role, right, your goal is to help these brands sell to private equity. So you're actually doing a lot of overseeing of these various departments at these different brands to make sure that they're growing in the ways that you want to see them grow. Is that right?
A lot. So I do, in conjunction, and we're very lean and mean here, oversee the CSRs because they're housed here in Bristol. And then I say, if you had to sum up my title, it'd be like a gap finder, right? So I know how long I've been here at LB Capital, I know what each department should be doing, what everything should look like, and then just finding gaps and creating an SOP to close those gaps if I do find one, and make sure that everyone's following operationally everything they should, knowing what it takes to be successful and get to that exit.
So you mentioned earlier that there's also some personal qualities where you're looking for when it comes to looking for a good partner. I mean, I'm just hearing about all the things that you guys are doing. You move fast. That is probably like the understatement of the century here. So when LB Capital is looking at roofing companies to partner with, I want to go to the red flags, but tell me, what are some green flags that you see in owners? Like, what are some qualities that you're like, yeah, I think this would be a good partner?
If they're at that age, it's appropriate, like a good family person, someone that
Mhm.
loves their spouse or their family. Because again, if you have chaos in your personal life, that's just going to roll over to your business life. So
Mhm.
making sure that your personal life is aligned to where it should be. And we don't get down into the details, right? But I think it's just showing that you're not out partying because that's not going to let you be a focus. You make the right decisions, right? You care about your business. Your presentation is clean because that's how you're going to treat your business, and you're a model employee for your employees there. So I think they're just the green flags, and I think you can gather that just by being around that person. So one of the requirements of becoming a partner is that you must come to one of our masterminds. And
Mhm.
so that way we can see you bring your data to those masterminds, and it's open to anyone who wants to come to the mastermind. It's a great event that we put on, but that shows your commitment, right, to your business and learning and things like that. So that's one of the commitments that we ask them to make. And then we kind of spend 2 days with them and get a feel if they're the right partner.
So, in your opinion, what is something that people often misunderstand about private equity?
That they only look or care about EBITDA and revenue.
Say more about
And
that.
it's an important factor. It's definitely in the top three, but they look for the team, the people, because that EBITDA and that gross can go away really quickly if your team crumbles, right? Like you can go from being on top to zero if you don't have good team in place, a good leader. I think having your financials in order is really important. Like watching the due diligence stage of this, they were really looking into making sure our financials were in order, our HR documents, everything was in order, compliance, licenses. So it's not just about the EBITDA number. It's, are you organized? Is your accounting clean, and the team? I think everyone thinks it's just about the money, and it's not for them because they're looking at, is it sustainable?
Well, it goes back to if that person, you could have great numbers, your EBITDA can be great, but if you're private equity and say the owner is the one that's really holding everything together, like making like is doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes that they shouldn't be, they don't want to get into a situation where they purchase a company, the owner leaves, then the entire brand falls into chaos.
Yeah. And that's where
Yeah.
there's a transition period. So we have a lot of the partners in Mons that stayed on for a year or two as like helping with sales and things like that to give them time to transition that over. But I think, again, if they come in, they meet the team and realize that you have a great team and leadership in place, then you can grow and scale that, and with the owner leaving.
So, what advice would you give roofing companies looking to scale and grow, especially those considering partnering with LB Capital or selling to a private equity firm? And I'll say this besides getting on ServiceTitan.
So ServiceTitan branding, looking at your data. So like we have all of our P&Ls by the 9th and 10th of the month, because especially if we're really a large organization and we have our marketing budget set really high to get to that growth really quickly. So bad decisions that aren't caught quickly can really take you under and affect the bottom line and cash flow. So looking at your reports, having your P&L and knowing your numbers by the 9th or 10th of the month is extremely important. That's most of it is just knowing your numbers and making the right decisions.
Sounds good. Just want to pivot quickly, kind of to wrap up this conversation. You've had quite a career in the trades. And as a woman in the industry, I want to hear what advice you would give other women looking to break into the trades.
I always say, put yourself out there. I follow as many Facebook pages as possible to learn, like the ServiceTitan Masterminds page or anything that I can follow and learn content. I read on like personal development, business development. I think just caring and it be my passion. I attend all the events that I can possibly attend to learn and network, right? Like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me going to an event and meeting Tom Howard and building that relationship, and then meeting Lance and now all the other people that, I've with being on this team have met, like yourself at Pantheon and the little Toolbox for Trade build up. Caring, being passionate about what you do, right? Like you have to love it. The trades are definitely stressful and not easy. So it has to be your passion, and then learning and self-developing yourself, and then engulfing yourself is my biggest takeaway. Just engulf yourself in everything, care, and it'll show and radiate through your work.
Amazing. Well, I cannot wait to see where you're going to be in a couple years because I think you're going to be doing fantastic things.
Appreciate
Kelly, is there anything we should have talked about as it pertains to roofing, as it pertains to private equity, the stuff you guys are doing at LB Capital? Anything we should have talked about that we didn't get a chance to?
I'm like the biggest ServiceTitan advocate. And again, I think that goes hand in hand with passion is when you have a CRM and a program that you've worked with so many years and you continue to watch it grow. And that's something I've been a part at. So I rolled out Dispatch Pro for all of our clients, the new Contact Center Pro I'm currently doing. So all those things are so exciting. And that's what I'm saying is, always say yes to going back to that of like, what do I have advice for not only just females, but for males is saying yes to every opportunity, right? So sign up for every webinar that comes through your inbox if feasible, taking on a project, involving yourself, like, so you can be indispensable and know. And that's how it became in operations at LB Capital is I cared. So I involved myself. I learned and dove into things. Sometimes it becomes like a crutch because every fire that comes is, I literally had to put a sign on my door, please don't interrupt, because by now there would have been so many interruptions. But like to a fault has become like I'm the firefighter, right? But then I enjoy that because I create a gap log and I say, okay, well, how do I stop that person, that email or coming to my door again? Obviously there's a gap in the SOP. We either don't have an SOP for it or it's not been rolled out or being followed or something like that. So that's where I get fun of like, someone came to my door because as an organization, we take accountability, right? Like we didn't coach them on that or tell them what to do. So, or direct them. So now I have an opportunity to create an SOP that helps other people. Because if one person has that question, I'm sure many others do. And now I'm having knowledge in every department of the LB Capital organization. So I think just diving in, being committed has really helped.
Kelly, it has been so great chatting with you today. Thank you for taking time out of what I know is an incredibly busy day to share your story and your advice with us. This has been awesome. Thanks so much for being on Toolbox for the Trades.
Thanks, Jackie. And if there's, can I share a couple events that we have at LB Capital?
Of course.
So the shop tour, like I said, that happens every month, the first Wednesday of every month. So that is a free event. Everyone can just go to the LB Capital website and there's a tour button that you click, and then you can come hang out with us for half the day. And meet Lance, pick his brain. I will help you with anything CSR operational, our canvassing team, our production team, and our sales team. You get to sit in for our daily sales mojo and see what that looks like. So that's the first Wednesday every month, free. Then we have quarterly masterminds. Those dates are on our website, always updated. And that's a more immersed event. So it's 2 days. And we ask that you bring your P&Ls, your marketing structures and logins, and we help you dive into your data and dissect it of like, hey, this is how your P&L should be structured. This is, we bring in some marketing experts that look at the current PPC, SEO setup. Hey, this is our recommendations, or you're doing great. And then we have, which Liz just purchased last year, and it was our first one was great in December, Marco Island, was a roofing process conference. So we own that. And we had over 700 guests of that last year. So we think that's even going to be better this year. And that's first Wednesday and Thursday in December, same location in Marco Island, JW.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Kelly. Well, I'm sure some people are already on those websites right now, just figuring out how they can register for this. So thank you again for sharing your insight with us. You are a powerhouse. I cannot wait to see where you're at in a couple of years, truly.